Good day, everyone. Today we will talk about library staffing and human resource. This is a requirement for LIS 102 under Ms. Gresiel Ferrando. Let's get started. The outline for this topic is as follows. Definition: why recruitment is essential, approaches of recruitment, recruitment process, why staffing is essential, staffing, factors affecting staffing, library positions, standards, and then at the end of the slide we will have an open discussion. You are free to ask anytime and I will post this video. Let's go with the definitions. Here are the most commonly used terms in HR and recruitment. Please remember that just like huge companies, public or private libraries are also organizations. Attrition is a gradual voluntary reduction of employees through resignation and retirement who are not then replaced, decreasing the size of the workforce. Benchmarking is the process of measuring the performance of an organization or team through a variety of metrics. For example, customer satisfaction rate, sales, and retention for future comparison. Benchmarking can be used to compare internal performance and the external performance of competitors to measure if improvement has occurred. Exit interview is the final meeting between management and an employee leaving the company. Information is gathered to gain insight into work conditions and possible changes or solutions, and the employee has a chance to explain why he or she is leaving. Human resource management is the strategic approach to the effective management of people in a company or organization such that they help their business gain a competitive advantage. Performance evaluation is defined as a formal and productive procedure to measure employees' work and results based on their job responsibilities. Professional development is providing information and instruction that equips employees to better perform specific tasks or attain a high level of knowledge. Recruitment is the process of finding and hiring the best qualified candidate for a position. Retention is the practice and policies designed to create a work environment that makes employees want to stay with the organization, thus reducing turnover. And finally, staffing. It refers to the process of approaching, employing, training, rewarding, and retaining the employees of an organization. Why recruitment is essential? If Lugao, the famous Lugao, is essential, recruitment is also essential. This is the company's pitch in order to attract top candidates. Getting the best talent available is critical to the organization's success. If it's not done correctly, you'll end up hiring unqualified employees. And good candidates might decline, and there's a likelihood that the turnover rate is high, and there will be lack of diversity. Recruitment approaches. There are three recruitment approaches that draw upon different assumptions about people and determine behavior at work. First is the person fit job approach. It proposes the match between the individual's knowledge, skills, abilities, and the available job. The person fit job approach assumes that internal factors or personal traits determine people's behavior. Second is the social negotiation job approach. Harriot in 1992 and 93 point out that people and jobs are constantly changing, such that selection process has become a two-way process involving both parties, the applicant and the organization, and negotiation allows psychological contract and the creation of a social environment which will enhance the individual's performance. The third approach focuses on the compatibility between the person and organizations. The recruitment and selection process in the context of a crucial interaction between the person and the organization. There are many recruitment processes available online, but I chose the simplest one, which is from Society of Human Resource Management. Anyway, most of the models have these core steps, which is establishing objectives, the planning and preparation stage, developing recruitment strategies, or simply sourcing, carrying out recruitment activities, which include screening, selecting, and hiring, and evaluating recruitment results by taking control, moving forward, and correcting any mistakes made. These steps will be thoroughly discussed on the next slides. Establishing recruitment objectives. This is the first step of the recruitment process. In this stage, all input are heavily considered and that most employers are focused on pre-hire outcomes. These objectives are number of positions to be filled, date by which positions should be filled, number of applications desired, type of applicant sought, their education, knowledge, interest, and diversity, job performance goals for new hires, and expected new hire retention. Now that the objectives have been laid, the next step is to develop recruitment strategies. This step is simply putting a specific plan of action for attaining the mentioned objectives. In these steps, a company should consider creating a talent acquisition supply chain. Here are some key strategy questions. What type of individuals are targeted? Where can they be found? When should recruitment begin? How can they be reached? What recruitment message should be communicated? And what type of recruiters should be used? The third step is carrying out recruitment activities. One has to work out for the best strategy that will work for his company and budget. Examples are advertising, referrals, websites, job boards, social networks, and college fairs. The last step will be evaluating recruitment results. This is to check the effectiveness of the recruitment process and that necessary adjustments will be made for the next recruitment cycle. Part of this step is to monitor newly hired employees, retention period, and sharing the recruitment experience. These are some of the objectives that have to be evaluated. Time to hire, cost of filling the position, new employee retention rate, new employee performance level, hiring manager satisfaction with the recruitment process, applicants' perception of the recruitment process. Now let's take a break and play a short game. Without using Google, please identify the companies identified by their taglines and brands. Type your answers in the chat box and I will reveal the answer after 2 minutes. Now let's check your answers. Just Do It is by Nike. Metrobank, you're in good hands. I'm Loving It, of course, the famous fast food chain McDonald's. Imagination at Work is by General Electric. It's You That Counts is the new tagline of PLDT. Think Different is by Apple. Because You're Worth It is L'Oreal by Paris. We Fuel Success by Petron. Semper Fi is the US Marine Corps. And the Philippine Daily Inquirer for the last item. Now, what's the takeaway from this game? People's recall on companies' tagline and branding is a manifestation of recruitment success. People have this wanting of associating themselves with companies that have distinct taglines. Though it's not 100% true that working for such companies are profitable or beneficial at all times, these companies are already in a favorable position to hire the best candidates just by name recall alone. I made this quote, so don't be shy to quote yourself. Now let's move on with staffing. Why is it essential? It is because the quality of library services and resources is directly dependent on library staff to meet the teaching and learning needs of library patrons. Staffing will enable these following activities to occur: library organization and administration, serving the library patrons, that is, students and teachers, circulating and managing the resources, selecting, purchasing, and processing new resources, organizing displays and marketing. Allow me to present some related literature that defines the importance of staffing institutions with professional librarians. In recent years, educational studies have clearly established the efficacy of state licensed schools, librarians, and well funded school libraries. A series of statewide impact studies reveal tight links between students' performance on assessments and school libraries with well educated school librarians, well funded collections, and active instructional programs in information literacy. This is seen in the papers of Lance, Wellborn, and Hamilton Pennell in 1993, Bogman in 2000, Lance in 2000, Scholastic Research in 2008, Franz Lance and Litzau in 2010, Lance and Hofshire in 2011 and 2012. Another proof is that librarians provide effective learning experience. With expertise in identifying, collecting, and organizing content and best resources of knowledge, including photographs, films, music, and presentations by experts in many languages, school librarians provide effective learning experiences while partnering with reading and others core content area teachers and instructing students to use actual sources in real situations of information need. This is mentioned in the papers of Lurcher and Wools, Smuda in 2006, Kulthau, Maniots, and Kaspari in 2007, Long 2007, Morellion in 2007, Snyder and Rush in 2008, Callison in 2009, Morellon, Hunt, and Ewing in 2009, Eberhardt et al., Mardis et al. In 2010. I will provide the complete links and bibliographies of this research paper in a separate document. Moving on with the factors that determine library staff size. One is the type of library, whether it's academic, school, public, or special. I will discuss this in the next slides. Mission and vision, size of library. The size of library is directly proportional. Bigger size means more staff. Programs or services offered. The number of programs or services will affect the number of librarians who specialize in specific subject fields. Population is also directly proportional. More patrons equate to more staff. Accreditation standards. This is a justification whether your staff is adequate or not. And trends, which will be discussed at the last part. The table below gives the minimum number of staff per library type according to Philippine standards. The first is academic. The minimum number of staff is 3 for the first 500 students. So we got here librarian and 2 clerical staff. For public libraries, there are 2 positions, which is librarian and non-professional staff, and there should be 2 for at least for every 50,000 people. School, we got 2 for first 500 students. Normally, it's a teacher librarian and another paraprofessional. In special libraries, the minimum number is 1. It's depending on the approved plantilla. And normally, it's the librarian. The paraprofessional and utility staff are added depending on the approval. Look at the organizational chart here. You can conclude that academic and public libraries have more hierarchical levels than school and special libraries. This is due to the number of departments which equate to subject librarians or experts. The table I'm about to present is a comparison of school library and media center standards between Philippines, Australia, and United States. Notice the difference in ratio of librarians to the patrons. In the Philippines, the base scale is 1 for every 500 students. In the United States, the ideal is 100, though it's different for each state, while in Australia, it is 1 to 200. So you can see that there's a big discrepancy between first world and third world countries. Now that we have discussed the theories, processes, and defined the terms, it is time to present our favorite part, the library positions. Here we got the first one, the library pages. They are usually responsible for putting returned books and other items in their proper places on the shelves. They are also responsible for keeping items in the right order. Some handle requests for retrieving materials that are secured areas, and others may be responsible for checking items back in. Page jobs are usually part-time, and the minimum qualifications are whether they're completed their high school degree or still working on it. The next is the paraprofessionals. They can play major roles in libraries. These jobs may include public relations, accounting, human resource, network administration, facilities, transport services, and security. And for a minimum qualification, bachelor's degree is required. For volunteers, they provide assistance with routine tasks under the direction of a library staff. Rates of pay may vary depending on the size of the library, geographic area and skills, and educational requirements. They do not replace library staff in the provision of library services and programs, but may work in a support role. Normally, the volunteers' qualifications are high school diploma and at least can read and write and operate machine like computer. Library assistants and technicians. They often check materials out and in, collect fines and fees, answer general phone questions, issue library cards, process new library materials, and assist with items on reserve. They also perform general clerical duties and are often mistaken for librarians as they are the first face people see, since most libraries' checkout desks are near the entrance. So, the minimum qualification is a post-secondary certificate in library technology. The next position is the librarian. It's us, yay! We help people with homework and research questions, decide what items to purchase and to discard, offer programs and training, help people use the internet, build websites, and more. In addition, specialized librarians may run computer systems, work with seniors and non-English speaking populations, become specialists in a subject area, maintain the records of an online catalog. Librarian jobs are often full-time, although most libraries also rely on a core of part-time and substitute librarians to help cover all of the hours many libraries are open. The minimum qualification is a master's degree from a program accredited by LAA, or if you want to work abroad, it should be an equivalent of ALA. But in the Philippines, for as long as you're a board passer, RA 1080 if I'm not mistaken, you are already considered as a professional librarian. Next is library manager. They are department heads, branch managers, assistant, deputy, associate directors, and are typically middle managers responsible for the operation of departments and other functional areas such as all library branches. As managers, they may be responsible for work schedules, employee evaluations, training, and managing budgets. Branch managers in particular can have additional director-like responsibilities, such as overseeing the condition of the facility or involvement in local neighborhood groups and projects. Some states have certification programs with specific requirements for library administrators. Library managers should also employ management technique effectively in directing, planning, staffing, coordinating budgeting, and evaluating the library operation. In addition to the librarian's basic requirements, 4 to 10 years of experience with few years of supervisory experience. The next would be library director. They have the main leadership role in the library. So typical duties include preparing and overseeing the budget, developing employment and service policies, strategic planning, public and governmental relations, reporting to the governing board or official, ensuring compliance with laws, fundraising, hiring, motivating and firing staff, and more. Directors' duties and compensation can vary greatly depending on the size of the library. The committee should, the same qualification mentioned in the library managers are the minimum qualification with 10 years of experience as librarian and 5 years of managerial or administrative experience. So last but not the least is the library committee. So a job description is, it can be a useful way of involving other members of the school community in library planning. It can ensure the library meets the needs of the school. So the committee should always involve school library staff. Committee members can promote library services, provide input and assist the development of library policies, which may include strategic management plans, budget expenditure, evaluating library services and programs, collection development. Minimum qualification should be same as the library manager position. Moving forward, let me discuss the hiring and recruitment and staffing during the pandemic. As the world was shut down last year, and in some countries, like in the Philippines, we still are locked down. Humans have made a giant step and took the challenge. Some companies have considered doing interviews via video conferencing, MS Teams, Zoom, WebEx. Some have recorded interviews, while recruiters also look on profiles on LinkedIn and try to scout potential candidates in mailing lists, social networks like LinkedIn. On the part of employees, most have resorted to work from home strategy, utilizing remote connections or VPNs. Some libraries have purchased self-checkout machines, book drops, deliveries, new acquisitions favored electronic versions. Lectures were done virtually, and some service are via emails and virtual assistants. These activities might have been uncomfortable at first, but as humans figure out new cool features that come along with these technologies, we learn to suck it up, unless the only option remaining is to be inactive at all and read horrible pandemic news. For our last and final slide, let me give you a parting question. Let's open the floor for a final discussion. With all the hiring, recruitment, and staffing changes recently, do you think that the librarians will still survive? Can you share the activities your libraries have adopted during the lockdown and until now? Thank you very much for listening, and God bless.